So we cannot go exactly 20. Oops, what happened here? We cannot go exactly 24 frames per second when we save it to animated GIF, because the units here is in 100th of a second. You can give it 4, or you can go 5, and then it's 20th, right? 20 frames per second, right? 5 100ths. That's a tongue twister. Hundredths. 5 hundredths of a second. That's 1/20th, and so that means you get 20 frames per second. Animated GIFs are rarely needed at high speed. Right? It's probably small and good enough to play them at 20 frames a second. You could go even like 16 or something like that, or even less. If you do 8, you get 12.5 frames per second, and that's still quite useful at times. I'm going to go with 5, and that's 20 frames per second, and I'm going to give it the file name where I want it. So that's going to be with Dragon Walk in that folder. I don't have any animated GIFs yet. That's not surprising. This is the first one I'm doing this, so I'm going to go here, Dragon Walk over plasma background. Right. Now, if you want it named the same as some other files that are in different formats, one easy way to do that is you just show them. Put a star there, hit enter, and it will show you all of the files that you have. If you know they are perhaps in WMV format, or they know in something else, you can go and look for them in different names, right? Different folders and so on. For instance, if you want to look for all of those that are MP4s, right? Star.mp4. It will show you just the MP4 files. That's a nice little trick here. If you want to see which ones are already AVI or GIF, it will show that by default. But let's say if you know you saved it earlier as a DWG, DWA, excuse me, dog waffle animation, you can see all of them here. And maybe you want to keep that and then just change the name here to GIF. Right. So let's do that in fact for the AVI one. So star.avi, we had at least 1 or 2 AVIs. There you go. I'm going to save it the same name, but then actually change that to GIF. All right. And so now I can save that to a GIF. And when you play it back, not sure what tool, probably an earphone view will be able to play that. And there it is. Woo, that doesn't look good. Looks like we didn't save everything. All right, so what did we do wrong? And that's really where you need to play, check it. Oh no, it actually has more. So there's something else going on here. It may have it all, but maybe the playback in earphone view is puzzled or something. You're gonna want to make sure that you play it back later. Check the size. Yeah, that's big enough. It probably has the entire image sequence. You could perhaps go here and open with earphone view. Let's open it in a browser like Internet Explorer. Ask me later. Oh, okay, yeah, we're good, I think. Yeah, looks like we have the 96 frames here. Okay, that's important that you check it, right, and that you have a tool that actually can ascertain that you have everything in there. All right, so let's go and do a few more things, right? We typically, when it's animated GIF, we probably want them smaller. So I'm going to go and resample that. From the file menu, we've done this before, I think. Resample, and this time I'm going to say half of the size. Click on that. It's 640 by 360, and half again, 320 by 180. All right, and do that. So that's doing it over the entire image sequence, processing and resampling every frame that it sees in that animation. And then we have something a little bit better for saving as animated GIF. Now, there is much more to it with animated GIFs. Right? There are compression options and run length encoding options and a variety of other things. Color coding, like reducing the color. If you want them to be really small, you should use a tool that is really a great tool for working with existing animated GIFs, the compression focus on that. Now, a couple of other things you might want to do with that also is to increase the contrast a little bit or sharpen it. Since I just resampled it, it may be a little bit fuzzy. It may be, well, it is a small image now. I resampled it to small. But if you zoom in, you'll see a little bit of lack of crispiness, and maybe you want to improve that. Let's first store this animation here. Store to disk as usual. And so we have the original, and actually we have it somewhere saved to disk already. What I'm going to do is add a little bit of contrast or sharpen. You can use the traditional unsharp mask. You can see that right here, and you can see how much is too much or something like that. Another option that's pretty neat for sharpening is the digital photo enhance. Go to HSV mode. I like that the best. Just trust me on that. And there you go. So apply that over the entire image sequence, all frames. And that goes pretty fast now because it is, after all, a pretty small image, right? So it doesn't. It's not like the high definition we had earlier. And you can actually, while it's inside Dog Waffle, inside Howler, you can change the frame rate. 24 is the default here. If you want to see it really the way it will appear in the animated GIF, you put that number in there, or you say, well, let's see, 12 frames a second. Right? Maybe that's still good enough. Or maybe you want to see it go really fast, something like that. All right, but you notice it's looping, it's loopable because we made it so. It's also seamless on the background, not on the entire guy here. But yeah, so that's one of the things we can do to further work with this animation sequence. And now there are a few others. Let's see, what else could we possibly want to do with that? Let me think about it. There's more things we typically want to do. Oh, of course, we need to still save this. I did all this thing about the animated GIF. Let's make sure we export it now. This one here, the delay will be still 4 or 5. Let's keep it 4, so that'll be 25 frames per second. Let's give it a name that's the same as this one, but smaller, right? What's that, like quad? What was it? 320 by 180? I forget the exact dimensions. We should probably check that and change it accordingly. And save that, and save media. And then verify. Yeah, somehow here when I play it back here, there's some sort of a glitch. Maybe I need to wait a little bit. Yeah, look at that. That actually did the trick, right? Sometimes that disk I/O is not complete, although it's SSD. I would think it should be done. Anyway, maybe it had some buffering or something else to do in here. But you can definitely check this is good. Let's go Control Plus to make it bigger and zoom in. You can see it's a little bit crisper now because we applied the sharpening to it. And so that's all good. All right, so we have a couple of things we've done now with this sequence. And there's more to come.